welcome. G-Cloud 15 is live, applications are open, and things are different. So we're going to cover some of the different things in this and kind of discuss them and look at what that is. To start with, a little bit about us. So Thornton Lowe are an established bid writing consultancy based up in Greater Manchester. We're going to be covering the key changes to G-Cloud. If you've got any questions, like Chris said, pop them in the Q&A and we'll get to them. And if you go to our website, there are blogs and other bits of information on G-Cloud and other frameworks and bits there. So, overview of G-Cloud. G-Cloud is a framework, and G-Cloud 15 replaces G-Cloud 14, but it also encompasses the Cloud Compute framework. It's now an open framework under the Procurement Act 2023, and it's still got unlimited suppliers on there. It's available for all public bodies to use. It's predominantly used by central government because they've got the most technology and have the highest budgets, but any public sector body can buy through there. As I said, it now encompasses Cloud Compute framework, so they're not renewing Cloud Compute after this one expires. That will come into G-Cloud. And the framework allows for, without competition, direct award, but it now includes a call-off process with competition, or mini competition as it was previously known. So in terms of thinking from a buyer's perspective, why G-Cloud? Why would they buy from there? Ultimately, it's access to multiple suppliers for cloud services, and it has a high number of SMEs on there. It's a quick and easy route to market, and it's got the latest technology and innovation there. And there is a buyer's guide for G-Cloud 14, which is always worth a good read and to go back to. But ultimately, things have changed slightly moving forward. The route for without competition, direct award, is pretty similar, but the search is done. But looking at the call-off contracts and the schedules that are with the framework pack, there's some snippets to pick up on. So there is a mechanism for search and call-off now, which will include taxonomy, social value, technical filters, and product information. There is weighting to price when call-off can happen, and there is also a number of with competition rules which will come in. So why did they put with competition in? Partly because it matches more to do with the framework standards that we've got under the Procurement Act 23, but also bringing Cloud Compute into G-Cloud means that they can do those with competition routes as well. So it gives greater scope for the buyer to choose whether it's a without competition or whether it's a with competition. And the changes that we need to consider when we're doing our application need to be made based upon how things can be searched and called off. And that's ultimately some of the bits that we'll go through in this session. So the framework overview, lot one is infrastructure and service, and is broken down into two sublots. Lot 1A is that for everybody, and lot 1B is above official, so that is generally security clearance and other areas. Lot 2 is broken into two sections, so lot 2A is infrastructure software as a service, and 2B is software as a service. So 2A is more of a hybrid type solution, whereas 2B is software cloud-based. And then lot 3 is all of the additional services cloud support. Applications are open, as we know, and the deadline for submission is the 30th of January, and it's via the digital marketplace. Now, if you've already been on the digital marketplace and looked at the application process, you'll see it's a massive answer tree, and one section unlocks after you complete the next, and you go through. And we've spent a lot of time going through the portal, looking at all the different branches and where it needs to be to get to what can the solution be and how can we best maximize the opportunity that people we're supporting and giving you some guidance now can maximize their future opportunity on award on the framework. In terms of the application, there's a procurement specific or PSQ embedded within the portal that you'll complete as you go through. One contract or technical ability certificate is required for each lot. There is financial viability either through Dun & Bradstreet or financial viability risk assessments that will be met. There are technical questions, and then there's the service definitions, which include pricing and social value. Other things to consider are your insurances, need to be in place. Cyber Essentials Basic isn't mandatory for all lots, but we would strongly recommend it. A carbon reduction plan, we'll come on a little bit to that shortly. You need your past 3 years of accounts, social value, social action policy, and your service and other listings and information. So technical ability certificates, they've been used previously and they've been used in other frameworks. They show your ability to deliver service under a contract that you have. That contract can be public, private, third sector. It has to be within the UK or a treaty state country. So if you're supplying goods and services outside of the UK that you want to use as your contract example, you need to check that they're on the treaty states. Google Treaty States UK comes up with a big list, and you can have the companies that are based in those countries as your contract examples. On normal traditional style frameworks, it's a paper form or an online form that's filled in and then sent to the client. They digitally sign it, send it back. This time the details get uploaded into the portal, and they're saying that they will contact people to get the okay and the references. So it's really key that they meet the requirements that are set out in the lot, but also the customer knows to expect some contact down the line potentially from Crown Commercial, so they can verify what you've said is delivered. Absolutely key that, you know, we do that and things are put in. Just a quick reminder for people that have just joined us in the past few minutes, there's a Q&A button at the top of the screen. If you've got any questions, type it in there, press enter. We'll get to them towards the end of the webinar where we've got a bit of a Q&A session. So just pop them in there, any questions you've got as we go along. So carrying on, services. G-Cloud's always operated on service listings, service definitions, and other bits. And the buyer has an engine, a search engine in the background that works and goes through. Each service that you want to list, whether it's infrastructure, platform, software, or cloud support services, is made individually, and there are boxes to fill in and things to go through. The taxonomy, as you saw earlier on, is important because when people are searching, that's one of the key things that they'll find. So you need to make sure that everything is listed really clearly and covers the full taxonomy of what your product does. The services should include things like onboarding, offboarding, the specification, what the service does, terms and condition, and pricing. Now on pricing, they used to provide a standard template for us to fill in, and that will go on. They haven't provided a template this time, so pricing is what you need to put on, but there is guidance in the bid pack. Each service listing will need a service definition to go alongside it, giving more insight into that product or service. What makes a good listing? So it needs to be easy to read. If I was the buyer, I would generally wonder what's going on after about 10 pages. That's not to say it needs to be short, but it needs to be easy to read. It needs to be detailed to give them an insight into what the products and services is. It needs to be correctly listed with the right taxonomy, and it needs to make it easy for the buyer to buy you. The easier you make it for the buyer to understand what you're offering and how they can buy you, then it's done. Now, some people will list hundreds of listings, and I get that because you might have hundreds of products, but don't confuse people. If you've got a service and it does the same thing, keep your listings as precise and as detailed as possible, and maybe reduce the number so you're not confusing the buyer. Ultimately, if it's direct award, you've probably done some outreach work anyway, so you're directing them to your listing. If they're searching, bit like Amazon, ever type in pens and everything comes up, I get really confused and give up. So we need to make it easy and simple for the buyer to buy you. That's the plan. In terms of technical questions, there is a quality evaluation. So previously, yes, there was a compliance check and other elements, but this time there's scoring. So for lot 1, 80% of the score is in the technical questions, and it's 20% in lots 2 and 3. Pricing in lot 1 makes up 20%. And it's 80% in lots 2 and 3. Now, it's key that these questions are answered accurately to the specification and in line with the playbooks that the government issues and are outlined, and ultimately that's what will get the score. So if you're an infrastructure or platform business listed on lot 1A or lot 1B, you'll need to make sure that you're scoring as highly as possible on the technical questions to get them maximize your score. As I say, on that, it's what technical social value is 80% and it's 20% pricing flipped on lots 2 and 3. Financial viability is measured in a couple of ways. So they did this last time on G-Cloud 14. So they looked at the Dun & Bradstreet number and they assessed it under a number of different criterias. They're listed on the screen now. So it was a failure score 50 or above, net worth, and ultimately the quit ratio and other bits. If you don't meet the requirements of the Dun & Bradstreet path, then they would ask you to submit a gold FVRA for lots 1A or 1B, or a bronze for 2A, 2B, or 3. Now, what we're suggesting to people is fill your FVRA and submit it at the time. Why is that? You're making it easier for Crown Commercial, the evaluators, to go through. So in the event that you don't hit the initial screening, they've already got that information there and present. What it also means, if there are any areas of concern, it's highlighted on the financial viability risk assessment, and you can make comments against it of why that might be amber or red, and you can put that in. This is all about making it easier for the evaluator to take you through the journey. Also, it means less messages to you, so it's just feeding them the information at the time that they need it, and with that guidance. Social value. So social value was with us on G-Cloud 14 and previous, counts for 10%. Out of that quality score, 10% is social value. Now, to pass social value and get your percentage, you can tick a couple of boxes and it's done. But that may restrict you further down the line when somebody's trying to buy you. As we saw earlier on in the snippets, and you'll get a copy of the slides at some point in the next couple of days, and you can see, but in the schedules and the call-off schedules and the framework schedules, it says that social value is part of the scoring when it comes back on the search. That's how it's designed. So what you need to do is go through and do what is realistic, either that you're delivering or could deliver as part of that contract. Now, if you tick everything and, you might be able to do it, but be aware that the buyer may expect you to do that as part of the contract. Now, like the rest of the portal, it's a big answer tree and there's lots of questions, lots of tick boxes. We've done an easier version for the clients we're supporting to guide them through. If anybody needs some help or guidance on it, just drop us an email. Address will be at the end. But ultimately, it's about having your application and your evaluation in place so you've got the best opportunity of being found for either the direct award without competition or the award with further competition mini award contracts as we come down the line. Carbon reduction plans are mandatory for lot 1A and lot 1B, but they're saying they're not mandatory requirement for lots 2A, 2B and 3. Now, we would again strongly suggest that everybody has a carbon reduction plan. It's linked on their website. All of that is uploaded into the portal so it can be seen and it's there. Why is it important? Well, one, it's showing your contribution to that social value net zero element that's required, but buyers look for that. So if you're wanting to transact, say, with the NHS, they're really keen on net zero as is central government. So they will be looking, do you have a carbon reduction plan in place? If you don't, then could they buy from you? They may require you to do that if they are. So it's worth doing at this point and having it done. And then every 12 months, if it's your first one, or if it's not, we should be doing it every 12 months anyway, refreshing the figures and showing your reduction rate and plans to do that. You can also showcase initiatives and other things that you've got in the pipeline that can show ultimately what your business is worth to the community and wider environment. So it's really key, and it's a really key aspect to show people what you can do and how you can do it. In terms of Thornton Lowe, we have an offering which supports framework submissions. I'll mention it, but ultimately we would take you through the whole process from start to finish. So our project manager would guide you through the compliance elements and our writers would guide you through all the service definitions. monitoring portals through the submission and evaluation, and then ultimately when awarded, support you with some framework maximization and how you can make the most of being on G-Cloud 15 and ultimately get a return on investment. So, Chris, I will come to you to see if we've got any questions. Let me see.
Yeah, just as Graham said, as a reminder, if you do have any questions, if you use the Q&A chat at the side, we do actually have Mark's just asked if we're going to share a recording of the presentation after. Yeah, absolutely. There'll be a crib sheet of the main points, the slides, and also a full recording of the session. But if anyone's got any questions that are sort of specific to the content or anything like that, if you can drop those in there, we'll give you a minute or so now. But if not, we do have a set of like predefined Q&A answers, like commonly asked questions that we'll include on the crib sheet as well. But for the time being, Graham, nothing. I think you've. It looks like you've covered everything, to be honest.
Lovely. Last few bits from me. G-Cloud 15 is different in its application evaluation and how buyers will find you, and that further competition under the new regulations allows for people to have the mini competition or award with further competition in different ways. It doesn't have to be a kind of tender process. It can be an expression of interest, a presentation. There's a number of ways that buyers can come out. The whole way that we've structured our approach to delivering this for our clients and supporting ultimately is to maximize their opportunity through the application process, to get them through the evaluation process. So when it comes to the framework, they are searchable, they're transactable, and they're buyable. Ultimately, that is where we need to get to. So that's how this has been designed. If anybody's got any questions, you can drop us an email to hello@thorntonlowe.com. Myself or one of the team will come back to you, put a short call in. If you want us to support the whole process, we can do that. If you want help with just little bits, I'm helping some companies with just social value or looking at their services and their listings and is it the right fit, then we can absolutely do that. Or if you want us to check your portal, because it's a really big portal to do, then we can go through and check all of that is in place. With it being an 8-year-long framework, the next intake is in 18 months or 2 years, so you would be locked out of that if not successful. So it's about maximising your opportunity now to get onto the framework so you can transact into that. That's ultimately it. Like Chris said, we'll pop a recording of the video over in the next couple of days with a little bit of a crib sheet and a copy of the presentation. But thank you everybody for joining us and being with us today.
Great. Thanks, Graham. Thanks, everyone.